Okay, so it's about damn time, right? So Suits is pretty much back, season 6, episode 1. Can't believe it's 6 seasons, but here it is right now. So the base plot of this episode is pretty much Mike trying to adjust to prison life, and so are the people that love Mike Ross are trying to adjust to Mike being in prison. Now, what did I like about this episode, and I thought this was a very good season premiere, was that I'm glad they didn't forward time, and I believe they said they weren't going forward time, so I did kind of commend them to that, because I felt like that really would have taken out a lot of the tension. That's just my opinion, just in general. But what I really did like about this episode was that it felt like a very intimate episode. I feel like everybody got a chance to kind of interact with each other, kind of lash out their feelings, and kind of say what they actually do, kind of like feel, just in general. There's a lot of interacting moments that I feel like we didn't get enough of. Like, for one, that really stuck out in my head was the Harvey and kind of the Rachel stuff. I thought that was actually quite good at the very beginning, because even though they have this connection between Mike Ross, they never really had a big interaction between each other, at least not to me personally. I feel like they were always kind of a little bit distant, but they were only really connected because of Mike Ross. But I thought that was a nice little thing. And maybe it's just me, but I feel like Rachel kind of came across as just a tad bit annoying in that conversation with Harvey. But maybe that was just me, just in general. But I thought that was actually kind of good. Now, granted, in the storyline, also kind of going into it, Mike Ross gets his head shaved, which is like the shittiest fucking head shaving ever I've seen in prison. Also, that prison is way too fucking clean from my perspective, just in general. Now, a couple other things that really did happen was that Jessica pretty much gets served. The Chinese guy kind of comes in with like the worst accent ever, which is kind of a negative. But it turns out she's actually gets served, and then, you know, obviously they're being sued, so they try to fix this all around. And that's kind of like what I like about Suits. Now they're trying to, like, you know, form the money or whatever it may be to, like, get everybody kind of, like, back or at least away from them to save the firm. What I like about Suits, I feel like, is Suits is at its best when they're in these impossible situations, the team. Now, granted, believe it or not, I feel like Mike Ross kind of going to prison actually is kind of a good thing in some way, because the team was kind of split for the most part. Everybody was kind of like going their own way, but I feel like this Mike Ross thing is getting the team back together, and it's good to see those like cool moments once again. A couple other things that I really like. I did like seeing Michael Jamal Warner in here. I did think he was actually kind of good. He quoted, you know, Shawshank Redemption. That was actually kind of a cool thing. What I didn't like, or what I did like personally also just in this episode, was that I felt as if we did kind of get a little bit more of these characters kind of letting loose a little bit, particularly when they're kind of like getting high, right? Because I thought when they were getting high, which I thought was a very fun scene, we learned that Lewis kind of like jerked off in some mud, which was a little bit too much information. He kind of blew, you know, some smoke. The line of the day, by far, was fucking crotch your dragon. Actually, no, crotch your tiger, hide your dragon. I just butchered the shit, but I thought that was by far the funniest fucking line in this entire damn show. And then we kind of see some of the Mike Ross stuff just in prison. I thought the Mike Ross stuff in prison was actually quite good, even though it looked like one of the cleanest prisons ever. The thing was, Mike Ross meets this guy named Frank, right? And Frank just gives off this bad fucking vibe from start to fucking finish. And it turns out he's kind of like telling him his story, whatever it may be. But it turns out that this dude is actually kind of just learning all this information about Mike Ross because Harvey kind of put him in prison, pretty much. Now, for me personally, what I thought was, if he said he was like insiding trading, and maybe that was just a bullshit. Well, actually, he said it was a bullshit story. But my thought was that, why did Mike Ross trust this guy just in general? Because you think Mike Ross has a little bit more of a wall, just judging from his perspective of his childhood. But no, but for some reason he kind of like trusted this guy, which was kind of like really stupid to me. And now he has Rachel's number. He kind of knows, you know, everything pretty much about Mike Ross. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see that he just kind of like splatted out all this information, because Mike Ross showed, and Mike Ross is a pretty smart guy. But in here, he trusted people a little bit too much, and even the guy said it. But in prison, that's the thing. He showed a lot of weakness because he kept on talking about Rachel, whatever. He kind of, you know, looking at the walls. And in reality, weakness in prison can do two things: get you killed or make you get fucked up the ass. That's what it kind of happens, and that's kind of how this episode kind of really went. Now, granted, I really did like this episode. I think it ended on a very interesting cliffhanger, whatever it may be. The only thing I would have to say, though, is just that even though I did like all these interacting moments, especially when the team kind of having a drink and they're getting high, those were like nice moments. And even Harvey finally says he's sorry about doing this entire thing. So that was a nice little thing to see, because it was obviously his fault, pretty much. But it was nice to see that he kind of took responsibility for the thing for the first time, pretty much. You know, everybody's like showing their like wealth or whatever it may be. So, like I said, I thought this was actually a pretty good episode. The only thing I would have to say is that I'm wondering how long Mike Ross is going to be in prison. They were saying in an interview that's not going to be the entire series, which is good. My guess is that probably the last 2 episodes of the season, or at least this first half of the season, I would say he probably gets out of prison. I'd say. And then that's kind of how it kind of ends and something goes on. But like I said, this is another big task. Mike Ross is facing an enemy in prison. Harvey and the team are trying to like battle to save the firm. I think those are two very good storylines. It seems like everybody is still in it, which is great because Suits is a fantastic show, and this was actually a really good season premiere. And this should add for some interesting stuff. But hopefully Mike Ross doesn't get shanked. But that's my thought. Comment, subscribe, and like. I'm Chris Smith. I'm signing out.